Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we're almost like 2 weeks removed from Whizbang's workshop being released, and we like to do one thing around here is bash on bad cards. We know what the good cards are, like Demon Hunter right now, some Hunter stuff. Paladin was at the top not very long ago, but we're gonna go through the worst of the worst cards, take a look at what the 10 most underperforming cards are from Whizbang's workshop, and just have some fun with it. If you enjoyed the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below, give the video a like, it helps us out a lot. And just important to note, we categorize it by deck win rate. We're gonna sort through Diamond through Legend since Whizbang's workshop launch, so let's take a look at what the worst cards are, the ones that make you go, what were they thinking? So starting off at number 10, no surprise here, we have a Druid card in Smallland. It's a 3-mana spell which reduces the cost and attack of minions in your deck by 1. It is in 0.2% of decks, has a 37.2% deck win rate, and has been played all of 4,400 times. I don't actually think this card is that bad. Like when I played it, Theory Crafting, it was pretty good with the spell damage stuff. It's just, Druid is so far behind all the other classes at the moment. Even with the recent nerfs and the one buff to Aviana, Druid is just barely more playable than Whizbang, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, overall, again, I don't think it's necessarily the card is terrible, which I might say for quite a few of these cards, it's just that Druid just doesn't have enough. They can't survive in particular against all these aggressive decks, like a Demon Hunter, like a Hunter, or the OTKs are just faster and like Sith Mage. It's just not really working out even when you get that mana cheat from in Smallland. At number 9, we have a card that I believe is a good card. The archetype just isn't working. It is the Rogue Weapon Water Cannon. It's 4 mana. It has 3 attack, 3 durability, and after your hero attacks, you summon a 1/1 pirate that attacks a random enemy, and the token is riding a rubber ducky. It's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. It is at 0.3% of decks. It has a 37.2% deck win rate, and has been played 10,000 times. By far the most played card on this list. Important to note that its played win rate, its mulligan win rate, its drawn win rate are all higher than its deck win rate. So it's a better card than what it's in. Like it's the deck that's bringing it down. The pirates aren't quite there yet. You got like the whole like toy boat is really good to draw your cards in your deck, but compared to Wild, you just don't have the pirates to make it work, which we'll also see a little bit later. So yes, Water Cannon stuck at number 9. At number 8, we have our first just neutral card that's probably never going to be good. The Nostalgic Initiate, the 3 mana 2/3 miniaturized minion that has the first time you cast a spell, gain +2/+2. So then you get the 1/1 mini that does the same thing. Basically a spell burst card without saying spell burst. It is in 0.07% of decks, has a 36.6% deck win rate, and has been played 1,400 times. It's just some stats that you gotta work for. Rogue, probably the best class to utilize it with like the coin, preps, shadow steps, getting those extra stats that just don't mean a lot. Like early stats that don't have rush or can go face typically don't mean a lot in Hearthstone these days. And even in Arena, when I face it, it's okay, but not even great. It's something I don't even want to draft there. So overall, yeah, just not much of a card doing anything. At number 7, we have another Druid card. We have a couple more on this list. Druid's destroying it. The Wind Up Sapling, a 2 mana 2/1 tradable minion, which is Battle Cry. Refresh 1 mana crystal, trade to upgrade. It is in 0.1% of decks, has a 35.5% deck win rate, and has been played all of 310 times. So you really need to trade this like 2, 3, 4 times for it to like actually pay off. Like it's a 2 mana refresh 1. That's terrible. So you gotta like upgrade it quite a few times. And Druid just doesn't have great draw right now. They just don't. They lost Nourish. They lost Solar Eclipse. They lost Aquatic Form. They lost so much good card draw and didn't get a lot back that it's not really worth trying to trade this to just refresh some mana. Even the Druid decks out there that are kind of doing okay-ish, will not bother with this card whatsoever, and as a result, it is barely played, and when it's been played, it is really bad. Number 6, we have the new Rogue Location. I think this was my pick for worst Rogue card of the set. Was not correct. There's one that's worse so far. The Crystal Cove. The next minion you summon this turn has its stats set to 4/4. It is in 0.06% of decks, has a 35.4% deck win rate, and has been played 3,400 times. It's crazy. The percent of decks is a lot less, but it's been played way more than Wind Up Sapling, so that's interesting to note. I guess because you're always trading Wind Up Sapling. But yeah, just getting a 1/1 and getting it to go to a 4/4, it's okay. It's not great. It's not worth putting in your deck. You're not winning the games with that. And Rogue right now can just play 0 mana 8/8s and recopy those. You don't want to set it to a 4/4. It just doesn't really fit into a deck at all. And again, it's kind of ironic that the Crystal Core, whatever was called, the Rogue quest started as a 5/5. Maybe this will get buffed to make them 5/5s to make it more playable. At number 5, we have another Druid card. Still not the last one on the list. The Woodland Wonders, a 5 mana spell. Summon 2 1/5 beetles with taunt. They cost 3 less if you have spell damage. It is in 0.2% of decks. It has a 34.3% deck win rate and has been played 5,700 times. Pretty much every spell damage list I've looked at doesn't run this card. It's not worth it. By itself, without the discount, it's terrible. With the spell damage, it's just okay. 1/5 in stats on both of them are not going to trade very well into much of anything, and you don't really have buffs you're going to utilize with this. If there was like a spell damage token board buff deck, maybe this will work out, but currently just 2 1/5s that you're not really doing much with. Yeah, it's not working out, and as a result, it is number 5 on the list. At number 4, we do have the Splendiferous Whizbang. Yes, he has made the list. Ironically though, to like bronze through gold, his deck win rate's like 45%. He's pretty decent at the lower of low ranks, but diamond through legend, not so much, where you get the start of game, start the game with one of his experimental decks. Obviously, percent of decks, it's 0%, times played 0. You can't play the card, but deck win rate, 33.3%. Literally 1/3 of your games at Diamond through Legend. If you play Whizbang, you got a shot at winning. I mean, it's a fun meme card. It's not meant to be competitive. I'm surprised he's not number 1. He's actually number 4, so that's pretty darn cool. There's 3 cards that are performing worse than Whizbang. And what are they? Well, starting at number 3, we have the Pirate Legendary 4 Rogue Shoplifter Goldbeard. I'm just sad. The Goldbeard, it's not working. After you summon a pirate, summon a copy of it that attacks a random enemy, then dies. It is in 0.1% of decks, has a 33% deck win rate, and has been played 1,300 times. The startling fact about this card, which is meant to be your big finisher where you play and get a bunch of value with all these different pirates, its played win rate is below 30%. Its mulligan win rate is 24%. Its drawn win rate is 30%. It makes a bad deck even worse. It's that bad a legendary. It's just too expensive. There's not enough good pirates to try and copy. It doesn't work whatsoever. A card probably that will get buffed. It's the second expansion in a row where Rogue has had one of the worst performing legendaries. The one before that was Velorock, which they buffed and become one of the most broken legendaries they've ever made. So we'll see if that happens again. But yeah, the beard, not quite strong enough. At number 2, we have the last neutral card on the list, a 5 mana 5/5 Workshop Janitor. Battle Cry. If you control location, draw 2 cards. This is in 0.04% of decks, has a deck win rate of 31%, and has been played 560 times. I think this card, if it came out like 5 years ago, and if locations existed 5 years ago, it'd be an okay card. But every class can draw a million cards. It's not much of a struggle. A lot of classes don't want to play locations these days. A lot of them aren't worth playing, and a 5 mana 5/5 draw 2 in today's game is kind of unplayable, and the numbers show that, because the way card draw generation is, it's just a lot easier to come by in almost every single class. And then number 1, the worst performing, the absolute worst of the worst card from Whizbang's Workshop so far is a druid card. It is Jade Display, the 1-mana 1/1 death rattle. Your Jade displays have +1/+1 this game. Shuffle 2 of them into your deck. It is in 0.1% of decks, has a 26.2% deck win rate, one of the lowest we've had in recent times, and has been played 4,000 times. There's no support for the card. There's no support. You have no way of really resummoning them. They don't have taunt. They don't have rush. They don't do anything other than you'll eventually get a larger and larger man, as Day 9 used to say, and actually did say when he did open this up pretty recently. So welcome back to Hearthstone Day 9. But yeah, there's no support for it. It's pretty much a meme. In Wild, it's completely terrible and slow. It doesn't work with Jade Idols. It's a whole different Jade structure, so that doesn't even work. And yeah, unless they make some support directly for this, it'll just remain a cool little throwback to a card that terrorized many of us. But thankfully, this current version is terrorizing nobody except, well, people that want to win with it. It's terrorizing their win rate. It is absolutely dreadful. So there you go. The worst of the worst cards so far. Let me know which ones maybe surprised you, what you think should be on this list that you're surprised by. But overall, yeah, Shoplifter Goldbeard is probably the most tragic, and it is pretty cool that Whizbang isn't even in the top 3. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.